Hello, welcome to the video. Today's class is going to be a beginner's course, so this will be the first week of a series for beginners where we're going to gradually work on some poses and some flows for those of you who are just starting out or who feel a little bit daunted by starting to move your body and by yoga and just feel that maybe going to a class is a bit scary. And yeah, we're going to start at the beginning. So if you have blocks, they're handy. If you don't have any, we can make do, but they're a really good tool for beginners. So I would encourage you to get some. Try and get some the same size. I have two different blocks. I don't know how that ended up happening. I've lost the other two, but just if you can invest in some, awesome. Otherwise, I'll give other suggestions as well along the way. So what are we doing exactly in yoga or movement in general? In this kind of body weight movement and stretching and mobility work, we're looking at increasing our range of motion through different joints and looking at strengthening different muscle groups and also stretching different muscle groups as well. So we will do a little bit of passive stretching, but mostly we're working through active ranges of motion. So whilst we're increasing our flexibility, mobility, we're also strengthening as well using body weight. Okay, so often people think yoga is just a stretching class. Not this yoga. We're also going to be really focusing on those other aspects as well. We want to be able to control the ranges of motion. So what I mean by that is through passive stretching, often we don't really have control over those ranges. So for example, say a forward fold or even a splits, if someone's going to a passive splits, we can maybe get into that pose, but we don't really have control over that pose. We wouldn't be able to move in and out of that pose with control. Often we need props or to use our hands, say for example, to get into the splits, but we couldn't actually own that position. So what we're doing with mobility work combined with our yoga poses is really having control over moving in and out of different positions and different poses essentially. So we'll go into that more and more along the way. A yoga mat is helpful, but you also don't need that. You can do yoga on the grass, in your living room, on the floor. So don't worry, you don't need to go out and buy fancy stuff. Sorry, there will be a few trucks going past here on the road. But yeah, all you need is yourself and a commitment to keep going. You won't see results if you do one class. You need to keep coming back and be prepared to go through the struggle a little bit. Yeah, it'll be fun as well, but challenging at the same time. All right, so I always like to start off with a little bit of a focus in on the breath, because it's nice to actually carve out some space, even if you're just doing 10 minutes, 20 minutes practice, 5 minutes, whatever, to actually arrive and use the breath as a tool to commit to this time that you're going to do this. You know, it doesn't always happen, but try not to have to stop the video 10 times to go and, you know, answer the phone or whatever. Sometimes you have to do that, but try and commit to this period of time and bring your focus fully here. So let's use the breath to do that. Closing down the eyes and just noticing the inhale and the exhale. So we're just beginning to bring awareness to the breath, and we're going to do this each week in this course to use it as a tool to arrive and to bring awareness to the body. Just beginning to notice where you feel the breath. Are you noticing it mostly at the nostrils, perhaps in the throat, maybe the chest or the abdomen? I find it useful to bring a hand to the chest and the abdomen and just feel that rise and fall. It helps to bring that awareness. Lovely. Taking the hands down and opening the eyes. So that was a very short, obviously just a little bit of breath awareness. We will start to work on different meditations at the start of each practice. And that's another beautiful thing about a more mindful movement practice rather than just a sort of exercise class, is that we can begin to also incorporate more mindfulness and a bit more awareness of also emotions and feelings that are affecting us, and using our movement practice and our breath work to work on those things at the same time. All right, let's take a little warm up. We're just going to keep it pretty simple today. Coming over onto all fours. Okay, so just nice and stacked. We don't want to be too far forward or back. Shoulders over the wrists and hips over the knees. And we're going to start with a cat-cow movement, where this is the cat, where we round through the back, really pressing the ground away. And then we arch through the spine, gazing slightly forward, and just moving through these movements. Okay, so at your own time, not too fast and not too slow. And we'll start to incorporate the breath. Okay, so we're moving with the breath. Inhale as we round, and exhale as we arch the spine and looking forward. And returning to neutral. So now we're going to start to take some circles over the wrists. So just circling in one direction. You can make these quite small, or you can make the circles quite big. You can press all the way back into a sort of almost a child's pose position and come all the way forward. So just play around with this. We're still going in the same direction. We're starting to warm up the joints here. So the wrists, the hips, a little bit into the shoulders and the spine, and then changing direction. I always like to incorporate a little warm up before we take any more loaded positions, just to prepare the body and avoid injury. Okay? All right. So that's a nice little warm up there. And we're going to take one more here. We're going to take chest barrels. So it's pretty much combining those two movements. We're going to, so imagine you're trying to trace the inside of a barrel with your chest. So you can bend the elbows. So we're arching, rounding, coming out to the side, arching, and then moving over to the other side. Okay, so don't worry if these are quite small movements. We're going to build up our ability to move more deeply into these positions and fluidly over the coming weeks. It's really just a practice thing, and changing the other direction. Especially if you're not used to doing this kind of movements, it's going to take some time to familiarize and for the body to get used to it and start to give you a little bit more range through your joints. It won't happen overnight. Okay, one more. And returning to neutral, just rocking back onto the knees for a moment. We're going to make our way into our first downward dog. Downward dog is a really foundational position for a lot of the flows and the movements that we do. We keep coming back to that position. For a lot of people, it's challenging. I have a tutorial, beginner's tutorial for downward facing dog. I'll just link it here. So you can go over to that, and if you want to really focus on that position, but I'll show you a couple of pointers. If you have blocks, use them for this. If you don't, you could actually just use a couple of books. If you have a few thick books the same size, something to elevate the hands on. You could also use a coffee table or a chair to get much more elevation, but ideally blocks are good. So the hands will come onto the blocks. If you don't have anything, you can just do this on the mat, okay? It's just going to make it a bit easier for you with the blocks. So tucking the toes under, press into the blocks, and I want you to lift the knees off the floor, okay? It's going to be quite intense. You might need to walk the feet in a little bit closer. And you'll feel, come down, you'll feel the core engage straight away. It's quite a lot on the core. But this sets us up nicely to come back into the position because we get nice and strong through the upper body, that beautiful length through the spine. And now let's start to tip the weight back. Keep the knees bent for now, okay? And you can keep the heels up. If they come easily down, please feel free to bring them down. Okay, so we're here. You might notice the back has rounded. If that's the case, bend the knees for now, enough to get some length through the spine, okay? If you can bring the heels down or straighten the legs without the spine rounding, then do that. Otherwise, stay with me here with bent knees, okay? A few things to watch for, checking that you're not hunching the shoulders towards the ears. We want a little bit of space between the shoulders and the ears, yeah? And let's start to walk the feet out. Just walking one foot at a time towards the floor. Mine are touching the mat, yours might not, okay? We start here. We'll work up to getting the heels down. In terms of the foot position, you can have the feet quite close together or a little bit wider, and same with the hands. It's really just playing around with what is most comfortable for you. Okay, let's keep walking. All right, and then settling into a more static position. We're going to drop the knees as if we're coming back into all fours, but keeping that length through the upper body. So nice and long through the spine. We're just tapping the knees, okay? Not coming all the way down. And press back up. And tap. Last one. Beautiful. Okay. Set the knees all the way down and rock back onto the knees. All right. So, a little warm up. We've worked a little bit into downward dog. Now we're going to work through one vinyasa or sun salutation, and we'll incorporate a lot of different kind of flows and sun salutations as we move along. So I want you to come up to standing. If you have blocks, keep them handy. If you don't, we'll work without them. So I'll show one with and without. All right, so coming up to stand, taking a comfortable stance with the feet. So I like to have my feet hip width, but you might prefer to have them closer together. Yep, it's totally up to you. From here, we're going to inhale with the breath and lift the arms up, slightly gazing upwards. For now, let's just keep the hands slightly apart, shoulder width apart. We're going to exhale as we bend forward, bend through the knees, okay, holding on to our blocks Or if you don't have the blocks, just place the hands to the shins, okay? Or if you can, fingertips to the floor. Okay, from here, let's straighten through the legs and look forward so we get nice and long through the spine. Inhale here, find length. This is called a halfway lift. Then we're going to exhale and fold, okay? Again, let's bend through the knees for now. And take your blocks away. Hands come down to the floor. Yep. And let's step back to a plank position and drop the knees. Okay, we're going to start our planks and these sun salutations from the knees for now, and we'll progress to doing it from the toes over time. But I really want to get the form here first. So rocking a little bit of weight forward, okay, into the hands, gripping slightly along the mat, but we're not fully coming forward here. The butt can stay a little bit in the air. We're going to untuck the toes and start to lower down towards the floor. So elbows are going to come back, yep, chest and chin, so still gazing forward, and press back up, okay, so a modified push-up. Let's come down again. And back up, beautiful. So here, I want you to think about pressing the hands away. So notice the difference. If I'm here, I'm collapsed through my scapula, okay, through my shoulder blades. I want to be pressed away, and this is called protraction. This is how I want to be as I lower my chest and chin towards the floor and back up, okay? So if you find you're doing that and you're collapsing, okay, then I want you to rock a bit of weight further back so we're more in an all fours position. That takes some more weight out of the arms, and then we go here, okay? Otherwise, come slightly forward and up. All right, this time we're going to come all the way down onto the belly, okay? Hands are under the shoulders. We're going to lift up, keeping the neck long and gazing just slightly ahead of you on the mat. Okay, so we're pressing the chest up, but we're not coming up too high. We're going to lower down, prepare to press all the way back to that all fours position, preparing to come back into down dog. So with blocks or without, tuck the toes, press the ground away, lift the knees, and now pressing back into that position, thinking about length through the spine rather than at all costs getting the heels down and the legs straight, okay? I see that a lot, and then we get a lot of rounding through the back. We'll work on the hamstring flexibility, but for now, length through the spine, shoulders away from the ears, so scooping that sort of inner eye of the elbow in and forward, and walk out the legs. Beautiful. Now we're going to bend through the knees and start to walk the feet towards the hands. Okay, see how far you can get before you need to bring the hands up. We're going to take that halfway lift again, so blocks or hands to the legs. Here, length through the spine, gaze is forward. Beautiful. Folding down. And then inhale, bend through the knees, come all the way up. Arms come up, hands parallel, and exhale, back down. We're going to take one more round for today, and we're going to finish up there. Okay, so preparing, let's inhale. Exhale, sweep the arms down, shins or blocks. Take that halfway lift, okay, lengthen through the legs, lengthen through the spine. Bend through the knees and plant the hands. So bend through the knees as much as you need to plant the hands. Stepping back, lower the knees. Okay, setting up here. Rock a little bit of weight forward, but still keep that butt a little bit in the air. And chest and chin, nice and strong through the shoulders. Let's come down. Press back up. Coming down, this time we'll come all the way down. Hands stay under the shoulders and lift up a little bit higher this time so the belly button is just about to come off the mat. Elbows in, not out here. Press the hands firmly down, tops of the feet pressing into the mat. Lower down, tuck the toes, press all the way back to all fours. Press the hands into the mat, tuck the toes, lift the knees and press it back. Walk out the legs. Beautiful. Knees come down. Rock it all the way back into the kneeling position, or if that's not comfortable, into a cross-legged, or you could sit up on a block too. And lovely, well done. That's where we're going to leave it today. And in the next video, we're going to progress on that flow and add a few more poses and revisit what we've done today as well. All right, so I'd encourage you to do this video a couple of times during the week if you can, and then progressing on to the next video. We're going to take it nice and slow and focus on form and really getting those things right, those basics, before we start to make it a little bit more complex and a little bit quicker, a little bit more strength work as well. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. Please like and subscribe to support my channel. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Bye.